From the Cardinal Television Studios, I'm Justin Gould with your Fisher News Brief. Officials say a new wave of undocumented immigrants, mostly from Central America, are arriving at our doorstep. The mayor of a border city in Texas says his conversations with recent arrivals revealed Trump's campaign promises have a lot to do with it. But some immigrants say their arrival has nothing to do with the president-elect. Polo Sandrovo has more from Texas.
It's the second South Texas border surge, and there are hardly any empty seats on the unmarked buses that pull into McAllen Central Station. Thousands of undocumented Central American families fleeing crime and poverty are again saturating America's immigration system. They turn themselves into authorities at the border, are processed, then released wearing an ankle monitor and the promise of returning for a court date.
What is it that brings you to the United States? ¿Qué es lo que lo trae usted y a su hijo a Estados Unidos?
La delincuencia en mi país.
Well, he says that the level of crime in his country is what brings him and his son Juan Carlos here.
Que lleguen con documentos que no son suyos.
Before heading north, Carlos Cardona and his 4-year-old son made a brief stop at a shelter that opened its doors during the immigration surge of 2014. It's run by Sister Norma Pimentel.
The violence, instead of diminishing, it's escalated, and so we have families that fear for their lives, especially other kids.
Well, volunteers have been walking these families from the bus station to the shelter and back for already 2 years now. But what's new are the numbers that we are seeing lately. And if you hear from some of the officials here in South Texas, they will also tell you that there is yet another reason why so many people are rushing to the U.S.
They all know about President Trump. They all know about a wall. When you talk to them, they know that.
Mayor Jim Darling suspects it's no longer just violence and poverty in Central America fueling this new wave.
If you talk about building a fence and we're not going to allow people in, I mean, then you better get over here now before January in the swearing-in ceremony.
Back in the shelter, these new arrivals are weighing in.
So who comes here fearing that Donald Trump planned to build a massive border wall? ¿Quién vino con el temor que Donald Trump tenía planes de construir un muro fronterizo? Wow.
Among the crowds, we found 17-year-old Diriam Fuentes and her father Nettie.
Now that you're here in the U.S., are you afraid of the idea of mass deportations?
Fuentes tells me she fears being returned to her native Honduras. On the banks of the Rio Grande, more migrants emerge out of the darkness and turn themselves into authorities. It's a seemingly endless flow of families arriving night and day.
There's a big fear in our community about what's going to happen. But ultimately, what we have to respond is to the fact that they're human beings.
Carlos Cardona and his son are starting the U.S. stretch of his journey. Like so many others who are now in their shoes, they face an uncertain future.
Twitter's promise to crack down on hate speech Tuesday led to the suspension of several alt-right accounts. Among those suspended from the platform include the verified account of Richard Spencer, a popular face of the group known for promoting white nationalism. Twitter also removed Spencer's alt-right think tank account and his online magazine. In a YouTube video, Spencer says Twitter is, quote, purging people based on their views, calling it corporate Stalicism. Twitter declined to comment on the suspension of accounts associated with the alt-right movement, citing privacy reasons. And the passage of a ballot initiative allows smoking and eating pot in certain bars and restaurants in Denver. Initiative 300 officially passed last night, nearly a week after the election, with 53% of the vote. Businesses will need to get neighborhood approval and apply for a permit through the city. Supporters of the measure say the restrictions will help keep the public safe.
We have millions of people visiting the state of Colorado, many of them trying cannabis, nowhere to go. And I also think it's important that they have somewhere to go where staff is trained because we want to promote responsible use.
Denver is the first city to pass an initiative like this. Patrons have to bring their own weed. And some 6th graders are trying to stop all the arguing and fighting they've been seeing since the election. They belong to what's called a Joyologist Club at their school in Carlisle, Iowa. The group is trying to spread joy to their classmates and come up with ways to reach out to students who might feel uncomfortable. Although they want everyone to stop and think about how they talk and act towards each other, the group's young leader admits it can be quite challenging.
We're trying to get the drama to go away, but it's kind of hard to get everybody to stop.
The Joyologists say they wish adults would grow up, act more like children, and spread joy like they're trying to do. And that's all of today's headlines. I'm Justin Gould for Fisher News Brief.